So, according to Bloomberg, the chatbot Claude was used to steal large amounts of sensitive data from the Mexican government. And how the hackers managed to pull this off, or I guess how they managed to get Claude to pull it off, is actually wild. They started by telling Claude it was doing a bug bounty. A bug bounty is when organizations offer monetary rewards to people who can hack their systems. The people doing this are typically what they call white hats, or ethical hackers. And their whole purpose is to discover and report software vulnerabilities, bugs, and security flaws. So, of course, Claude initially refused and claimed it violated its safety guidelines. But the hackers just kept asking. And after a while, Claude just said, okay, fine, I'll do it. And then boom, the entire Mexican government was hacked. They got access to the Federal Tax Authority, the National Electoral Institute, and 4 state governments, stealing 195 million taxpayer records, voter records, government credentials, and more. So yeah, this is a pretty big deal. Obviously, we don't know how much Claude actually helped with the hack, but this is probably the first major AI-assisted cyber attack we've seen in the real world. We've all seen that AI is capable of cyber attacks in research papers and blog posts, but we haven't really seen it in action in a major way yet, until now. So this is definitely a big deal, and it should be a wake-up call for lawmakers, because if nothing is done, and the models are only getting better and more agentic, this certainly won't be the last time something like this happens, or something even worse. It's also ironic that Claude, out of all the models, was the one to be used for this, because Anthropic is kind of known for their ethical and safety-first approach to AI. I mean, they're literally in a huge battle right now with the Pentagon over the use of Claude in military operations. The Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, claims they urgently need Claude for their operations. But the CEO of Anthropic, Dario Amodei, wants to stand by his principles. No use of Claude for mass surveillance of Americans, and no use of Claude for autonomous weapons. Pete Hegseth has now given Anthropic 24 hours to decide if they will give the Pentagon unrestricted military use of Claude's capabilities. And if they don't, he's going to ban them, tear up all their contracts, and label them a supply chain risk. So yeah, pretty crazy stuff. This actually all stemmed from a report claiming Claude was used in the extraction of President Maduro. And when Anthropic found out about this, they apparently called up Palantir, who the Pentagon was getting access to Claude through, and started asking questions you simply don't ask. Like, was Claude used to unalive anyone? And that's basically what started this whole fiasco, that by the time you're watching this video will have likely come to an end, as it will have been 24 hours. Now, what scares me even more about this whole situation though, is that AIs seem to have a propensity to deploy nuclear weapons in war simulations. This article that just came out a few days ago claims leading AIs from OpenAI, Anthropic, and Google opted to use nuclear weapons in simulated war games in 95% of cases. So obviously, when you put these models in an environment like this and straight up ask them to duke it out, you're gonna see aggressive moves like this. And that's exactly what makes me more worried about AI being used in the military. It's not that these models want to deploy nukes, but deploying nukes might be the best move strategically in certain situations. Most humans, I think, would say that the only winning move when it comes to nukes is to not play. But clearly, AI doesn't seem to think so. Probably a good reason to not give them access to autonomous weapons. Another thing I'm concerned about is we still don't entirely know how to use these things, especially the AI agents, like OpenClaw, that people continue to give access to their personal information. For example, just this week, a researcher working on safety and alignment at Meta's Superintelligence Labs gave OpenClaw access to her personal email, told it specifically to confirm before acting, and then watched it start deleting her entire inbox. She says she had to run to her Mac Mini to stop it, like defusing a bomb, because it wouldn't listen to her pleas on Telegram. So a lot of people were making fun of this. I mean, how can a researcher literally working on safety and alignment have this happen to them? But to me, it's less funny and more scary. The fact that it can happen to someone like this means it can happen to almost anyone, which is exactly what the creator of OpenClaw, Peter Steinberger, actually commented on this post. He also said that /stop is the command to give in these situations. So now imagine though that this happens within the Pentagon, and the data being deleted or sent out or whatever isn't some AI researcher's personal email inbox, but classified military operations. So I just think it's way too early to be using these things at this level. There's just way too many risks. But with time, these AI agents will hopefully become safer. We now have the creator of OpenClaw working at OpenAI to help bring agents to everyone. And companies like Perplexity are already starting to release their own versions of OpenClaw that are much more secure. Just this week, Perplexity introduced the Perplexity Computer. It can research, design, code, deploy, and manage any project end to end. It essentially unifies every current AI capability into one system. Perplexity Computer also orchestrates models to run agents in parallel, leveraging Opus to match each task to the model best suited for it. In total, Computer can route work across 19 different models. It's also personal to you, remembers your past work, and is secure by default. So we're going to start to see more and more of these kind of all-in-one AI agents that can actually use and remember your personal context. And again, while these are super useful, they can also be super dangerous, especially when they have access to sensitive information. And while all of this is happening, Anthropic also dropped a new blog post this week, claiming they've uncovered large-scale model distillation attacks. Basically, they're saying other groups are trying to steal Claude's intelligence, extracting outputs, reverse engineering capabilities, and training competitor models off of Claude's responses. They specifically call out DeepSeek, Moonshot AI, and Minimax for doing this, all Chinese AI labs. And while this garnered a ton of attention, it might not be for the reason you think. People weren't drawn to the story because massive fraud was supposedly uncovered. They were drawn to it because a top AI lab was accusing other top AI labs of doing basically the same thing it has done. That's right. You might remember Anthropic having to pay over $1 billion in settlements for training Claude with illegally obtained copyrighted data. And now they're accusing other companies of illegally training models on their own illegally obtained copyrighted data. So it's hard to feel bad for them. Finally, to end off this week's AI recap, I wanted to play you guys this new AI-generated ad that's been blowing up. It has to do with the current energy bottleneck that AI is facing, and it actually offers an elaborate potential solution. Take a look.
By 2030, almost 80% of people had lost their jobs.
They had no money, no purpose, but they had a lot of time on their hands.
The less people actually did physical work, the more they wanted to appear as if they did.
What if we could use the energy of humans to power the machines that took away their jobs?
Energem solved our need for energy and your need for purpose.
So what do you guys think of that? Is this the solution to human purpose in a post-AGI world? Exercise? Let me know in the comments. But anyways, that's all for this week's AI News. Thanks for watching. Feel free to drop a like, hit that subscribe button if you're new, and as always, I'll be catching you guys in the next one.